However, this does not explain why we eat more than what we need. We have two forces. We have two conditions that are determining our homeostasis, which is our fitting, our physiology. So if I ask you why you eat, why we eat, the first answer will be because we need energy. However, this does not explain why we eat more than what we need.
Right. We finish eating a big dinner and then we have dessert. Why?
And then we have
Even
dessert,
though we're full.
and then if they invite us again, we keep on, and so on and so on. And
so at an intuitive level, what we're talking about here is, what everyone might recognize as, we eat for our stomach sometimes because we feel hungry because we haven't eaten, but very often we eat for our tongue or for the pleasure of engaging in the sensory experience.
And so the fact that the term of pleasure then is something that is coming later. The problem is that the environment is a little bit bizarre. It's changing continuously. Even in the same generation, even in the same life of individuals, you could have periods in which you have abundance and periods in which you have less abundance.
So the stable food environment is a present day anomaly from an evolutionary perspective.
What does it mean, exostatic? Exostatic means that the stimulus to make me eat or to have some processes in my body is not inside me, is outside me.
You're driven by food stimuli that you see in your environment rather than the internal need or hunger for something.
It is not my body telling me eat. It is the food that is telling me eat me. And what is the reason of that? I mean, one thing, if you think now, it is this something that is making you eat more than what you need is pathological, is making us sick and fat and diabetic and so on and so on.
But it's so common for people. It's so common for people to have that exostatic way of doing things, which, from an evolutionary perspective, has to make you think there must actually be a good reason that tendency is so common.
And this exostatic thing is opposite to the endostatic, is a way that evolution found to respond not at present needs, but future needs.
Right. Prepare for the future famine by feasting now when the food is present.
Yeah, exactly. If I am more exostatic than you, we find some food, you eat what you need, I eat more, then we stay 3 weeks without finding food, you die, and I survive because I have some reserve. Okay? That's the description. But there is an intrinsic problem in this. Where is the motivation to do something, to spend energies now for something that might be useful in the future? And evolution does not make you spend, is conservative. Doesn't want you to spend energy for nothing, right? Of course. But what happens is that as you will survive if you do that. You need a motivation, and the motivation is given by the rewarding system that is given by the food itself.
So this is where we talk about the palatability of the food.
Palatability of the food, but also a lot of biochemical activities that are leading to an accumulation of energy. So one thing is the food, that is the palatability, the food that is telling me, eat me, and it has characteristics that are reminding me something, or that they are good, that they are combining different nutrients. For example, sugar and lipids is much more palatable than sugar alone and lipids alone.
Right.
Because this makes a combination.
Yeah. So what we're doing here is we're actually getting at, think about it for a second. It's not a coincidence that the most palatable foods, the foods that we tend to think of as yummy, have things like sugar and fat in abundance. Nobody imagines eating a bunch of celery to prepare for the future. It's those foods that are the best at getting you to literally put on pounds, which corresponds to energy you can use in the future.
Yeah. And this is absolutely like that. And what is the feature? What is the problem with a feature of this system? That it is like I don't know the term in English, but it's like a system that is self-perpetuating. So whereas the endostatic systems are compensated, so they stop, they have a mechanism to stop. The exostatic systems are the tendency to
Continue.
continue to not to be compensated because they're based. The evolutionary reason why they exist is not to stop.
Right, because the environment would force you to stop at some point in a time of famine.
Exactly. And therefore, and we have and the very great idea of Pierre was, yes, the endocannabinoid system really seems a system that is cut to do this. So this is what you mentioned before. Is not just a piece of different pieces that are different, doing different things. This would be a general idea about the system that is a system that is made to make us do a little bit more of what we are doing.
Yes, and if the CB1 receptor system is an exostatic system, and its purpose, the reason it evolved, is to get an animal to do things and to coordinate stuff changing across tissues in order to store energy now to not die in the future when food is unavailable, then we should see a sort of a pattern in terms of the types of cellular and tissue level changes that happen from CB1 receptor activation across the body. We should see a certain pattern of, say, change in the liver or with glucose homeostasis and things like this, in addition to the brain-based things like the hunger and the palatability related stuff that I think we'll talk about.
For example, what we can say is, so if we think about the CB1 receptor as an exostatic system, and let's like that. Let's think what an exostatic system should do. When an exostatic system should, in terms of food intake and energy accumulation, should increase the amount of food that you eat, increase the amount of food that you absorb, increase the metabolism of glucose utilization, and lipid accumulation and production of lipids. All the molecules in the body that are made to conserve energy. Okay, and this is exactly what happens. The endocannabinoid system is a multi-factorial system for which most of the actions lead to accumulation of energy.